Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Derek Auger, the Executive Director of Conservatory Canada, and welcome to CCTV, our Friday webinar here. Those of you that have joined on Zoom, thanks for joining us, and we hope we will seed and stimulate some questions from you today about our digital badge piano repertoire syllabus. We're also simulcasting on YouTube, and thanks for all of you for checking in there, either live with us or later on the replay. If anyone's looking for the replay, you'll find it on the YouTube channel at CCTV. Okay, so I have with me here a nice round table, Andrew Harbridge, CC examiner, Samantha Atkinson, who is owner of Musica Studios in Toronto, and Don Keim, our director of teacher outreach. 3 of the 5 members we had on our committee to develop the digital badge syllabus for piano repertoire about a year ago. It took us a while to launch that out. We've been testing it over the summer, and we're ready to tell you all about it. We talked about it briefly in our very last webinar the year back in May, and some of you I know may have joined and may be familiar. But I'm seeing a lot of new names here in the attendees list. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to your questions, and we're ready to dive in and talk about digital badges and what they're all about and what they can do for us and our students, how we're using it to modernize. And so what I'm going to do, first of all, for those that want to see this syllabus, I've shared in the email recently a copy of this so you can see what it looks like. We're going to eventually post this on the website, and I would have it up there now. But those of you who have been trying to check into the website lately probably realize we've been having some issues with the website, including again yesterday and this morning. So thanks for your patience, any of you that are checking in there. I'm going to put a link to the digital badge syllabus in the chat box here for those of you watching live, so you can check it out. We're going to link to this on the YouTube channel later. You'll be able to see this on our website soon after the dust settles. We just migrated to a new server because I've been noticing some issues with the website. It's running fast and brilliant, but there are just a couple of little growing pains we're working through with the new server in terms of the extra protocols they have in place to keep that website safe. We find little things there that aren't working that disable the site from time to time, and we hopefully will have all those bugs worked out by tomorrow. It is up and live and running now, in case anyone needs to check anything out. So eventually you'll find more about the digital badge syllabus there. In the meantime, check that chat box out. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get a document going here that looks at this digital badge, and I'll walk through it a little bit with you first. I notice a bunch of you were already in there having a look at it, which is great. So piano repertoire digital badges syllabus. And then from there, we're going to go to our panel. We're going to talk a little bit about what digital badges is doing for their students, some of my experiences with it as well, and answering your questions. So in keeping with our mission to foster musical talent and potential, Conservatory Canada badges are a fun new way for students to measure their progress and achievement in a way that is recreational, inclusive, and accessible. And building on our experience with e-exams, the submission process for digital badges is entirely online and digital and relies on students' submitted recordings rather than live performances. The commitment required for earning a digital badge is more flexible and open-ended than the traditional exam, allowing students more control over the process. What we've been noticing at CC lately, or over the last decade, or maybe even longer, is that the number of students that are interested or able to sit down and do a whole full certificate exam the way we currently have them is getting less and less over time. Over the pandemic, early on in the pandemic, we noticed numbers were pretty stable. Students really only had piano to look forward to in their lives. But as the pandemic wanes and people are getting back to normal, we're back to all the other distractions again. And I know in my own teaching studio, I still keep a small teaching studio, so I understand what's happening out there in your studios a little bit more. Students just don't have the time to commit to this, and it's getting quite critical where either we make more revisions to the syllabus, which we don't want to do. We want to keep what's offered there as an enrichment course for those students that can handle those exams, but we wanted to offer something else as a goal setting tool, another way to have them assessed if they want to be, but also introduce an element of fun into the mix so that students can get something out of this that's maybe meaningful for them, that can capture their curiosity at different times throughout the year. So back to the syllabus, the new digital badges are designed to give all students the opportunity to measure their success and get unbiased feedback on their music making. It's not meant to replace the traditional certificate exam, but it can serve as a stepping stone to that end if they choose. The badges are intended to motivate students and instill in them a sense of accomplishment and pride. We want to offer an intrinsic reward. And so what is that reward? I'll just show you briefly here. Here's a look at our latest print ad. that you'll start to see out there once in a while when we advertise things. But right in the center, we have what the gold digital badge would look like for level 1. If a student is successful and gets a gold standing, we'll talk about what those standings are in a minute. This is what the digital badge looks like, the little badge in the middle. It's a JPEG that the student would get, they'd have access to in their student portal, and it just rewards them for their achievement in a flashy, bright new way. This is the ad here, and again, we're going to talk a bit more about all of this today here in the webinar. Back to earning a digital badge may benefit students in the following ways. They can provide a performance goal to work toward, provides expert feedback on repertoire without the pressure of the live performance. We find a lot of students, are a little bit squeamish, especially right now. They haven't been out and about a lot. We haven't had live recitals, very many of us, in the last couple of years. And we've become accustomed to or used to this idea of archiving students on video for maybe videotape recitals and the like. We can allow students to work at their own pace in this kind of system, and students can prepare individual pieces one at a time. They don't have to sit down and perform all 3 at the same time in this kind of scheme. Students have greater control and creative freedom in expressing their musicianship. Students can submit at any time of the year whenever they're ready, just like our flex exams now. And it allows greater accessibility for students who are unable to commit to every aspect of the certificate exam. Right now, it's only available for piano, only for repertoire, and we'll talk about what that entails. The skills, sight reading, ear training, techniques, scales, composition, all these other things, we may find a way to include other badges in the near future. But for now, just the focus is only on repertoire. Students can participate regardless of their geographical location. They don't have to make a drive to the nearest exam center if they're rural. And it provides an opportunity for business students to participate in a performance assessment goal. It may inspire students to complete a certificate exam later or for the first time. We'll talk about that later. And provides an opportunity for students to archive their progress for themselves digitally. And by that, we mean using their own recordings. They may store these on their own YouTube channel. Once we get them, we don't distribute them or disseminate them in any way unless we have consent from the participants. But for now, it's a nice way for them to monitor their progress and look back and see what their playing used to look like. And the feedback is quite generous. So featuring repertoire only, no skills, our initial offering is a simple repertoire badge for piano at levels 1 to 10. And this goes along very closely or identically with our current classical and contemporary idioms piano syllabus, so that when we're choosing repertoire, students can consult those syllabi to give them direction on what the levels are and what pieces they may use. And we also have plans to add other themes, including scales, composition, ensembles, and instruments, including voice at a later time. At this point in time, I'd say look for voice digital badge in the coming months, actually, with something we're going to start working on very soon. So requirements at a glance, I'll just give you the nuts and bolts of how this works, and then we'll get into a little discussion about how we like to use this with our students. So students would register for a piano repertoire badge at their chosen level, whatever level they feel they're at, in their student portal online. Our new portals I'll talk about at the end today. We've got a couple of announcements about some things going on here in the office. The new portals will launch hopefully on Monday, and by the end of the week, you will have access to those, and students can register anytime. There are fees that apply, and students may enter at any level. Students video and audio record 3 pieces of repertoire separately at any time whenever each piece is ready. It can be over a period of months if they want. It can be over a period of weeks. They can work on one at a time, perfect it, go on to the second piece, record it. They can record it multiple times. It's only the final version when they're ready that they upload to their portal. Once they have all 3 uploaded, then we go in and assess them. So links to the final recordings are submitted in the student CC portal where they registered for the badge. 3 links to be submitted at once in the portal when they're all ready. And then an examiner will go in and evaluate and provide concise, streamlined feedback, offering encouragement, some critique, and praise. If a passing standard is achieved, the digital badge is issued to the student through their portal. And if a passing standard is not achieved, students can resubmit any or all the videos for a fee. We have this thing called the retest fee. If the standings are gold, silver, and bronze, I'll talk about those in a minute, but if a student is not happy with their standing or they want to use the feedback to improve an aspect or aspects of their playing, they can resubmit it for about half the fee. I'll show you the fee schedule in a little bit so that they can get an upgraded badge. I have to say, it'd be pretty difficult for a student not to pass or not to get a bronze standing, but we'll talk about that standing in a minute here. We have here in the syllabus a guide to choosing repertoire. The students are encouraged to choose music that's meaningful for them and fun to play. We're trying to open the door on the repertoire and give you complete control over what type of repertoire, and even in some cases, the level of difficulty. Repertoire can be chosen from the same grade level of the contemporary idioms or classical syllabus lists that are all found online. And the music can be any mix of style or genre. Students can also use any music not on our lists, provided that it is at the grade level being attempted. Now, here's the tricky part. Special approval for music not on our list is not required for this. We just don't have the administrative capacity to start looking. We already offer this for our traditional certificate exams, but we want to trust the teachers and students to come up with music that's in the ballpark for the level they're trying. You may prefer to have CC's guidance, and you may submit a request to our office for confirmation of a piece's level, but we're not going to issue you a formal approval. We'll just say, yeah, you are in the ballpark. This looks like level 4 or level 5, whatever your question. And you may choose to rely on the opinion of another teacher. If you have someone else say, hey, does this look like level 3 to you? And that may give you a good idea as well. One of the 3 pieces may be of any grade level higher, with 2 of the pieces needing to be at the same grade level being attempted. And all pieces must be at least at the grade level being attempted. The student can't attempt a piece at a lesser level. Otherwise, we recommend they try for that lesser level badge level. Students may not use the same piece on more than one badge level, so they can't reuse a piece on a subsequent level. And students will not need to produce a notated score, lead sheet, or chart of their music. Examiners are just listening to what's coming through. And that's a lot of what our examiners are doing now, even at the certificate exam level. Students can choose to sing while they play. If they want to do a sing and play, all music performed must be solo, and only the keyboard part will be assessed. And an ensemble's badge will be forthcoming, we think. Backing tracks can be used in performance at the student's discretion, as long as we can hear more of the student playing than the backing track. Contemporary music can be edited as per the guidelines in the CI piano syllabus to condense the length and make the music more playable for the student at a certain level. Sometimes the score can be too difficult for the level we're trying, and so they can thin it out if they want. Sometimes students want to add things. That's totally allowable when it comes to pop stylings and other contemporary musical genres. If you have questions as I'm going along or we're looking through the syllabus, feel free to throw them in the Q&A box anytime, and we'll stop and answer those. You can also throw something in the chat box. We should be able to see that today as well. Notes on recording. So rather than relying on live performance, such as the traditional certificate exam, students must record their music using video and audio to be assessed for a badge. Music can be recorded whenever a student feels comfortable, and students may choose to record it multiple times before being satisfied with the submitted recording. And the process itself, or this process itself of sort of revising, students watching themselves back, wanting to do better, that itself can really drive a process that increases their music awareness and stimulates their motivation to improve. Only the link to the final recording is uploaded to the CC portal. Each of the pieces needs to be recorded separately with a separate sharing link provided for each of the 3 pieces once they're all completed. We have in our new database coded a situation where if students have one link to all 3 pieces recorded separately because they've done some editing and then posted it on YouTube or a sharing link, they can do that as well. But there's the capacity to handle that. Recordings can take place on any instrument, digital or acoustic, with or without the assistance of a parent, teacher, or friend. And recording quality is important, but not essential for students to participate. Very good quality recordings can be made with a smartphone, a tablet, computer with a built-in mic and webcam. If an external microphone is available, that's preferable. A lot of times we encourage students to do this with their teacher in the teaching studio if there's time, because often the teacher has access to better recording equipment. Editing in the form of splicing, mixing audio video tracks separately, and overdubbing are not allowed. So we want something that's true there, one take, whatever that take must be. And then how performance are assessed. So a CC examiner will review and listen to the recordings once all three links have been provided within about 3 days, with results shared through the student's portal online. The whole process is quite automated now. Brief, helpful comments will be provided for all submissions, and comments will be encouraging and easy to understand. Creativity and performance is welcome if students want to use backing tracks, as we mentioned, lighting effects, costuming, but the assessment will focus solely on the music. We want this to be fun for the students if necessary, if they want to dress these things up a little bit, but in the assessment, we're going to focus on the music. So the successful standings will be indicated by the color of the badge. Gold will be indicative of something at 86% or higher using our traditional marking scheme. Silver is somewhere in the middle at 76 to 85, and bronze less than 75%. And the marking standard to pass and obtain the badge is 60%. I think it would be pretty hard for a student not to get a badge if they're doing multiple recordings. A numerical mark will not be given, only a standing, and the student's badge will reflect that standing. If the minimum performance standard has not been met on each piece, a work in progress label will be given to indicate which pieces should be improved, along with comments reflecting the next step to be taken. Not necessarily next steps, plural, but the next one step. We want to capture these students and really focus them on the most important building blocks of musicianship. If the rhythm's not in place, the comments are going to affect that, or are going to reflect that. And if students want to resubmit, they should correct the rhythmic hesitations. Don't worry about dynamics and all that stuff until those building blocks are in place, and that will reflect in their standing. So regardless of the standing they initially received for a fee, students can re-record and resubmit any of their music using the same or different pieces to raise their standing. And students may resubmit any or all of the pieces. It's recommended we don't have, if students get a gold standing, it's recommended they don't resubmit. I don't see any reason to do that there. And the digital badges can be displayed on any web platform, website, or social media, shared or printed. And then we see the registration fees, much more modest compared to a certificate exam. Levels 1 to 3 students can get in the game for $49. Retest fee is just less than half that. Levels 4 to 6, $59. Levels 7 and 8, $69. And then for levels 9 and 10, we're charging a fair bit more just because of the time it takes to listen to those pieces, $89 for those 2 levels. So it's a great way to fill in gaps for students that aren't ready for an exam. We think it's a really neat idea. We love your feedback on it. And I just want to turn it over to our panel here to get their ideas, because I know a couple of you have already tried this out. Does anyone have any thoughts about, on the panel, how you've been using this with your students in your studio and what you've been noticing?
I always go first, so I didn't want to go first.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. It's been great for motivating students of mine that maybe wouldn't or that aren't going to do a full-fledged exam. And I noticed we get the piece, they'd record it, and we'd notice, oh, it could be a little better here or there, and they'd work on it and perhaps do 3 recordings. In the meantime, upping their skill the whole time. So I thought it was really good for that. And I'm thinking of everyone will either do an exam or a badge every year. And because that goal is just excellent to motivate students to get working.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing. It's just, and even as a teacher, you notice things differently when you don't have to monitor their playing live and you're looking back, you can look in that much more detail. And they get it. It's just such a learning experience for them. And when the exam is there, it's just one snapshot in time. With digital badges, we're assessing and looking at it and trying to learn skill. It's many snapshots over time, giving the student a chance to learn, I think, with much more meaning.
Mm-hmm. And I could point out, do you see on the video right here, you paused too long. Can you fix that for the next time?
Right.
So, yeah, and then they really care about it.
That's what I noticed. I noticed the process myself, students going on for 6 weeks at a time on one piece, because that care really develops. Care and attention to detail. Sam, what do you think?
Oh, your mic's off.
Your mic's muted, or didn't look like it was, but not sure what's happening there. It shows you're unmuted.
Have you had students pretend the mic's not working and they mouth the words?
Hang on, Sam. I'm just going to ask you to unmute. Let's see if that triggers this. Can you unmute yourself physically? Yeah, now try. Yeah, we're still not able to hear you. That sounds like, if you go out, can you reset your computer and come back in? Sometimes Zoom just does that. It just locks out within our own PC. It locks out our microphone. We'll wait here for you. Come on back.
What I've noticed with my students, I'm using it. I teach a lot of adult students, and they don't want to do these big full-fledged, but they still want a goal to work towards. So I've been using it with a lot of my adult students. I'm like, you know what? This way we have something to look forward to because they're like, you know what? I don't need to get my grade two certificate, but they want a goal. So I'm like, this is a perfect plan for those students that they're like, we're not into getting the grades. We just want a goal to work towards. So I've been using that a lot with them. The other thing I found is it helps prepare for recitals and things like that too, because when they're recording themselves, it's like having an audience, right? So it's like prep for getting over the nerves to perform in front of a live audience. So, doing that, and like you said, Andrew, going back and assessing, okay, we paused here, or could you, focus on dynamics here. So it's been a really good tool with even just getting into the habit of recording yourself, for multiple purposes.
Right. Absolutely. Samantha, do we have you there now? We can't hear you, no. No, we're not hearing your mic. But feel free, even if you just log out and come back in, that just may fix it. Okay, very good.
You're fast at typing in the chat.
Be nice to hear her live now. Anyone have any questions about this at all? Go ahead and throw them in the Q&A or chat box. And in the meantime, it'd be nice to hear from you in your own studios. Those of you in the audience today here on Zoom with us live, can you throw in the chat box what percentage of your students are now taking the certificate exam? Which percentage of students can honestly you feel comfortable putting through the traditional certificate exam? Just throw that in the chat box. I'd be curious to see what that number is. Is it 5% of your students? Is it 20%? Is it 80% of your students? How many students do you typically have doing exams now, or do you expect to be this coming year? Let's see what the number is. 20%, Andrew says. I know for me, last year, it was actually 0%. Funny year. The year before, it was probably 15%. Don says 20 as well. What's out there watching live?
And I feel highly motivated to put people in.
Yeah.
Too. Students are so busy.
It's very difficult, yeah. Okay, Kim is saying certificate exams being prepared for is about 45%, and 80% of the students are excited for badges. Very good, thanks, Kim. It says the chat box is disabled. That's why we're not getting many chats here. It's strange. Sorry about that, folks. I'm not sure why. I don't know that that's something on my end. That could be something in your own Zoom settings. I'm not sure. Chats, panelists can chat with hosts and everyone. Attendees can chat with hosts and panelists. Let's do that. If I do that, then and everyone. Okay, I just changed the setting there. I haven't used Zoom a lot over the last few weeks.
Oh, it says hosts and panelists.
Yeah, I see. So everyone. Panelists chat with everyone. Attendees can chat with them. Okay, sorry about that. When you may have been trying to, okay, there we go. Yeah, now the chat box is working, starting to light up. Thanks for the heads up on that. Okay, so 20%. Someone says 5% of their students. Richard, Joanne, also 5%. And these are low numbers. Rona May, 5 to 10%. Your students doing exams. In between there, I'm just throwing in the Google Doc again so you can see the syllabus in case that wasn't coming through earlier. Thanks for the heads up, everyone, on that chat box setting. I'm gonna have to watch that from now on. Zoom has changed a lot lately. And
I
Don
know
says
for my
30%. Wow. Go ahead, Don.
And I know for myself, like some of my students don't know yet that they're going to do this. I'll wait till we have, I like to get them kind of going. And then I'm like, by the way, you got these 3 awesome pieces. Why don't we? So, because sometimes they can get intimidated. So sometimes I'll wait. So maybe those numbers might come up for others as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Go ahead, Samantha. What were your thoughts here?
I wanted to add that this is ideal for kids who are busy, and I was able to have kids record songs the way they were proud of it throughout the year. So someone was preparing a song for the December recital, so we were able to save it from that time and let that piece go, but then include it when we submitted in June for the badge. And it was really exciting for them to go back and look and like, oh, I love that song. And they were still really excited about that repertoire, even though we had left it for a little while. So I like that just gets that feeling of expansion without a child having to play the same 5 pieces for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and that gets back to like doing it all at once, getting all 5 pieces organized to play them all at once. You've got them in different sort of states of organization, and you get 2 or 3 of them ready, and you have to wait for the other 2, and then those 3 aren't peaking anymore. I mean, there's a certain art to putting that all together, but when we look at the chat box, we're seeing anywhere from 5 to 40% are doing exams only. We wanted, when we created this, we wanted to find a way to serve those other 95 to 60% of the students that don't have anything in this way. So that's that. That's a really good point. Really great points. Katrina says in the chat, the badge program is very appealing and will shape my prep for 6 of my 12 students. Not sure if they'll all bite if I needed details for the program before presenting it. Okay, good to know. And hopefully we're providing you with the details here. And like I said, we're going to get more up on the website soon in terms of letting you see that syllabus, and it'll be launched on our registration portals next week. Now, I just want to go over to, we had 2 other people on this committee that weren't able to be here with us today. One was Alessandra De Chenzo, and the other one was Liz Craig. They're both busy with other things today. But Alessandra had this to say about the digital badge program. For students with exceptionalities who may not be able to participate in traditional exam or festival settings, the badges provide a route to acknowledgement of good work. She has a student who's hearing impaired, has low chances of winning first prize in the festival, but could easily attain a gold badge for her hard work. For high school age students who want to play at the senior level but are not interested in the full examination and co-requisite theory and history exams, this gives them a goal to work toward at a pace they can set for themselves as the year goes on. For high achieving students who can play through 2 grade levels in 1 year, they can complete the first level with a badge assessment and then move on to the next level. And it's good for students who know they are ready to move up a level and don't need to play a complete exam. For example, preparing for a full exam might hold them back, and having an end goal or passing of a level is beneficial to the student and the parent, to their morale, to their understanding that what they're doing means something. So those are points that she wanted to bring up, and I think those are really great ideas in terms of how to use this here with your students. I think we have a couple of other questions here, Rona May. I think this will definitely interest more students. Joanne, are the recordings limited to video? Some of my students love getting creative with MIDI. Would an audio recording suffice? We do in the syllabus state that we want to see video in audio, and the reason being, with just audio, we can hear certain things, but with video, it really completes the picture. It gives us another sense to work from and offering meaningful feedback. So if there was a way to incorporate the video, I think that would enhance it. I mean, if all a student was going to do was submit an audio MIDI recording, we could still assess it. It just won't quite have the same value. There'll be some pieces missing for us. Okay. Joanne says that makes sense. Any other questions or thoughts there, participants that are with us live? And then from our panel, yes, Samantha, what were you going to add there?
I just wanted to follow up that the students that I had participate received really effective feedback. The families enjoyed reading. Some of the things echoed what we had said in lessons, but there were also additional pieces of information that they found valuable. One of my students did the badge first before as a prep for some of the more challenging pieces before and included them then in the exam. And that was extremely helpful. And it helped get him focused on how to get ready for the exam. And then your feedback, it was actually yours specifically, Derek. was super helpful. And I was surprised at how much information you shared for what felt like it might be just a small ask of 3 pieces, but there was a lot of information and we really appreciated it.
Yeah, okay, that's good to hear. What do you think, Andrew?
I found the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Lots of encouragement and some good constructive ideas for them to work on. And
Yeah.
I was quite impressed actually with how thorough the remarks were and how good they were. Very encouraging.
Well, it's interesting with this kind of setup, in a 20-minute or 30-minute exam session, examiners are juggling so many things at once. They don't have time to write those helpful comments. They're justifying the mark mostly. With this, not only do we get to hear a performance, but we can comment on it more intelligently, more authentically. And then we often go back and listen to it a second time to verify, especially those students that are between silver and gold. We can really take time to get it right. And that's what's happening. And you'll see these more festival style adjudications with the comments and this kind of thing. And I don't know, here's another question for everyone, participants and panelists. What's the percentage of students in your studio participate in music festivals nowadays? That one I'm really curious. Go ahead and throw that in the chat box if you would. I'd be curious to see what the answer is. Okay, 0%. Katrina says this feels much more productive than festival. I'm hopeful that students will receive better feedback here than the festival where the educator is so pushed for time. Yeah, very much so. The comments are often a bit sketchy. Yeah, Andrew says 5%. For me, it's 1%. I did one a year. Kim also says, after the webinar last Friday, you were excited to talk to your students about badges and haven't seen everyone yet. So 80% of the students are excited about doing a badge and to see how they're performing and get the validation.
Yeah.
And it could also be a good prep for full exams, someone mentions.
It's like a mock exam.
Yeah. Which we're still doing too. And I know I mentioned to everyone last week, the audience here, that there are mock exams on the YouTube channel. I'll show everyone that for those that weren't here last week. Yeah, someone said 0%, 5 to 10% for festivals. So again, what do we do with those other 90 to 95% of our students? This is something that I'm finding really authentic when I used it with my students this past summer, and looking forward to using it with more. And like Andrew said, there's no reason why almost everybody couldn't attempt this. Everybody learns at least 3 pieces, and we could archive them. I could see some students wouldn't want to, but I think it'd be relatively few.
Yeah, the archive is a really good idea. Sam reminded me about the student of mine that passed away, and the family was so grateful that we had a record of him playing the piano. So you're building this archive with all your students doing these exams. It's just a good excuse to get around to it. And then you might have the next Justin Bieber, and that video might be really worth something.
Exactly. Okay, someone's asking, could we hear or see a sample comments? I'm going to pull something up here without revealing any identity. Some feedback that one of my students received. I went over this the other day with him when he came back to his first lesson. And I'll just read the feedback here that was given so you get an idea. It's a fair example of what can be shared. Okay, so this student prepared 3 jazz pieces. Actually, 2 of them were ragtime style. He was really into ragtime and had some trouble. This particular student, his mom desperately wants him to do a level 3 contemporary idioms exam, and he's just not practicing enough. And through the exam or through the recording process, we spent 3 months on the 3 pieces. And after the first 2 months, finally got the first one down, so it was acceptable. And then the next 2, we simply ran out of time at the end of the year. He had 4 weeks to finish them, and he started to realize. And finally, in the last week, I said, I could see a difference in your technique every week, but it's starting to sound like you're only practicing 2 days before you come to your lesson. And oh yeah, he admitted right away that's what was happening. So it's just not enough. So it really hit him. And so here are the comments. Jellybean Rag, for example, what a fun piece. For the most part, you have a good handle on the tricky syncopated rhythms here. There are a few small stumbles, hesitations, which I know you could work out with perhaps a little more practice focused on those areas. Having the video is a great tool because you can go back and mark these spots for further drills. Sometimes isolating the spot and trying it in different ways, louder, faster, slower, different octaves, etc., can actually make the real way seem easier and more attainable. Once you've got the mechanics down, you could also explore a wider range of dynamics and tone colors in this piece. Great attempt. Second piece is another ragtime piece, the Honeysuckle Rag of Martha Meyer. For your second ragtime style piece, similar considerations. See if you can really spot practice to hone the steadiness and keep these lines moving forward. At times, your fingering might be a small hindrance. See if you can explore with your teacher other fingering options at tricky spots to see what works best. I find sometimes that focusing on the dynamics, the story of the piece, and the juxtaposing lines can actually help the mechanics of playing it also. That last bass note, see if you can analyze the key of the piece and really have that in mind when you go for that final chord. Great work with the syncopation again. You have a nice full tone. And then the third piece, spur of the moment, nice bass line. This piece was, in my opinion, the best of the three because you seem more personally invested in making sure every line was coming through cleanly with a lot of oomph and drive. Bravo. Perhaps a little too heavy at times, but it also does suit the blues style. Overall, lovely to hear you. I encourage you to keep exploring ragtime blues and other styles of pieces to keep growing in your budding musicianship. It's an example of the type of feedback you can get for the three pieces. I hope that helps for the person that asked that. Yeah, again, the depth and the quality, the focused attempt. Two of the three pieces had some hesitations and flaws, but found, the listener found a way to word it all in a way that, not confrontational or condescending, but hey, here's what you consider to work with next. And that particular student got a silver because two of the three pieces weren't quite at that polished level yet. Yeah, go ahead.
I think students will get around to making videos because in my own studio, I've said, you should really make this and send it to grandma for Christmas. But then it gets forgotten and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Where if you got this on the go, it'll happen.
Absolutely.
You get the videos done.
Yeah. And then Joanne in the chat box is saying, you're thinking it's okay to share the videos on YouTube or other forms of media? Absolutely. You're hoping to send videos to personal care homes at Christmas time, and could we use the same video for the digital badge? Absolutely, that's the idea. Share these, make an archive, get those videos out there. And you're telling us that you love the positive, constructive tone and examiner's feedback. That's good to hear as well. Okay. So again, that's a little look at digital badges. Anyone from our panel, do you have anything else to add that you're thinking about that we, envisioned or were talking about when we went through this at our meeting, Samantha?
I just one more thing. Although Conservatory Canada classical and contemporary idiom syllabus is vast, we are still suggesting kids may have music that they really love and want to explore that's not on those lists. And here, as long as a teacher is feeling it's at the right level to match the other songs or maybe just a level above, then it's an okay choice. And I think encouraging kids to really connect with music that they love will bring a whole new level to how they're performing it. So I really like that openness too.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I know for myself, because I do a lot of singing songs with my students, and my students love it. The idea that they can actually do one of those and submit it as one of their piece choices is awesome.
Yeah. Any of these pop styles that students, they're interested in, they're downloading these pop style things, just put it in a level. But then what level are they playing at, do you think? Just throw it in there and do it. Don't hold back with those students. We don't, Andrew's actually in charge of updating the CI piano repertoire list annually around this time of year. And, we can't track everything at all, especially all the modern music that's coming out there. But that's the idea with this, is they have total, complete control and freedom of that repertoire that they want to choose.
Yeah, so if anybody has some choices they'd like to see included, I've already gotten some from the Facebook page.
Excellent.
Yeah, send those in because I'm in the middle of it right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw that plea on the Facebook page. Anyone that's not a member there, you haven't checked it out in a while, there are regular posts there. Conservatory Canada Teachers Facebook page. You can go and just apply to be a member, and I'll okay you within a day so that you can get on there and have a look around. We're approaching 500 members on that page, which is really great. And then what about own compositions for the badges, Kim asks? That's something that students can use now if they want, but we're hoping to add some kind of composition badge for students so they can get a special designation. Maybe they want to get excited and do more. They have a repertoire badge. And then if they want to do a composition badge separately where they can submit a couple of their own performances of their own compositions, that's something that we can offer as well. we'll just have to work with the details on that once we get all the repertoire badges lined out for other instruments. But for now, feel free to use your own compositions. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so a couple of other announcements. I know I'll talk about the upcoming webinars next Friday because we're launching our new database portal next week. I'll talk a little bit about that again right now for those of you that are here and those that are watching later on YouTube. On Monday, we hope to launch that new portal, be Monday or Tuesday, and everyone that's in our current database will get an activation email. We anticipate a lot of those emails will actually get lost in spam folders. A lot of servers actually block those kind of things now. So you'll be able to use the handy links on our website that are in the top right corner of the homepage to the teacher or student portal. That'll take you to the new portal. And I'll just share my screen. I'll show you what it looks like. The new portal looks like, it's gonna pop out of here. Looks like, no, where did I have that now? So right here. This is what that new page is going to look like when you go to log into the new portals next week. There are 6 choices depending on how you are already into the system. If you got an activation link to your inbox that successfully got there, it'll take you a little further into the system. If you did not get that and it's time for you to log in because you want to see a student's results, you want to get a student hooked up into registering for an exam, you would go to step number 3 or 4. Students can go to step 3, teachers and examiners can go to step 4, and you can click here to get your activation link to your inbox. And then once you're in there, there'll be very, very clear instructions on what you need to do when you get there to that point. But this is how students can register for those exams. And we figured because of the uncertainty of migrating our data into the new database and making sure that you're able to see everything that we want you to see, next Friday's webinar is dedicated to looking at these portals and giving you a little bit more instruction and an update on how we're using these and what you can do. And in the office, Deb, Kelly, and I will be there all through next week. As most of you saw in the email, our registrar, Kelly Matthews, is leaving us at the end of next week. This is very sad for us. It's been a really heavy week. She's been around for nearly 15 years, has given us just absolutely expert support, skills in so many areas, as I said in the email. And we're sad to see her go. She's going on to other career opportunities. She's been with the organization a long time and wishes us the best. And so if you had a relationship by email with Kelly, or you did happen to meet her early on when we used to travel a little bit more, feel free to reach out to her by email. She's around with us for another week, and you can email her at kelly@conservatorycanada.ca. And then in terms of upcoming webinars, after next Friday's database portals webinar, the webinar after that, we'll have Andrew Harbridge, who's here with us today, back with George Litterst of Time Warp Technologies. They're going to talk about SuperScore. Andrew, do you want to maybe just say a couple words about that September 30th webinar? Because I know you've been working hard on resources in SuperScore for this.
That's right. We're very excited about it. We have 2,500 graded pieces that match with ConCan's grading system. And we'll be going over the cool features that students can use between the lessons to support the teachers and what they're trying to accomplish. And I will say it's been tremendous to have students come back with the right notes, because they've had a thing that will check. There's still lots of work to do with interpretation and such, but that's been a really nice feature with SuperScore. So I'd love to see you all there. And there was something else I was going to say about it, but it slipped my mind. I must be all nervous.
The SuperScore app, for those that haven't seen any of the previous webinars we've done on that, it lives on the iPad, right? And so Andrew and George have worked on materials specifically for Conservatory Canada exams, but it doesn't have to be. The repertoire is there, but it's almost like a practice assistant. Am I right about that, Andrew?
Yeah, that's right. You can record your performance. You can slow it down, play one hand. SuperScore will play the other hand. There's history videos, inspirational videos attached to the song. The technique books, I get into explaining about fingering, or the ear test one, how you could approach doing intervals, and just a lot of very helpful things. And the SuperScale books are made to go with ConCan's classical exams.
Excellent.
Yeah. So,
okay, so
and Yeah, so the scales, you can just read the colored PDF graphics, or you can use the interactive feature where the students play along and they can speed it up, slow it down, get it nice and neat, even. Hope that wasn't too big of a plug.
Not at all. No. We like to hear so we know what we want to register for and listen to, but we look forward to that webinar on the 30th in 2 weeks' time with George. And then on October 7th, we're going to have Eleanor Gummer and Cecile de Rosier back. I know Cecile is here today with us, and they're going to be talking about new pieces by women composers, specifically Hedwige Chrétien and Laure Choisy, and the music that Eleanor is publishing. And they're going to talk about performance practice as it appears in those pieces, and usually complete with live demonstrations when they join us. We're going to have them back regularly as well to show us the latest that they are unearthing in the world of women composers. So I hope you can join us for all of that. And then, as I mentioned before, feel free to register for these webinars using the links in the email, which would be great so that we still have a live audience. And we are simulcasting on YouTube, and all the replays you can find on the YouTube channel at CCTV. And thanks for joining us today. Thanks to Andrew, Dawn, and Samantha for joining us here and talking this through. The idea about digital badges, you're going to hear a lot more about this from all of us in the future, in the coming weeks and months. And we hope you find the program worthwhile and exciting, and hope you can register some of your students for that with us. So happy Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see you next Friday. Bye for now.
Thanks, Derek.
Okay, take care, everybody. Thank you.